Thank you very much for coming with this weather at night. It's a pleasure to have you back. Julia and Michelle are here with us today. We just finished a presentation about what is the design management program, what do you learn in the program, what are the skills. And with Julia and Michelle, we can talk about what happened after. So once you graduate, how do you apply the skills that you have developed in your daily job? So I will ask you to please introduce yourself and share with the audience what is that you are doing.
So I work in a non-profit organization right now at the moment in visualization and communication. And we focus on fostering collaboration for the Sustainable Development Goals. And we talk about systems change, so supporting people in adapting and creating a more sustainable future.
Super, thank you.
I'm Michelle. We finished last year our studies in 2023, and now I work in the film business. I'm an executive coordinator and a producer. And as an executive coordinator, I'm the right hand of the top management team, which is very interesting because I get to see everything they do. And there is a little bit where I apply design management as well, and with a new role that I'm taking as a producer, because as a producer you need to have the overlook of many different people, stakeholders, and there I find myself using a lot of things that we learned in our studies.
So can you share with us what will be a lot of things that help you to see the view and help people work?
Yeah. Well, what really sticks with me a lot is the soft skills we learned here. Because I felt like during our studies, we collaborated in a lot of groups. Like it was always a group project with different people. And there are challenges that come with working in a group, working on many different projects, working under pressure. And we did have some courses. For example, one that really stuck with me was the conflict handling modes, because we learned that everyone handles conflict differently. And I mean, obviously it makes sense, but I wasn't very aware of that. But then when you learn of that, you get to understand the people better. And sometimes you can't choose like the team you're working with in real life. I mean, here in school, maybe you can switch a team or something, but if you work in a company, you just have to deal with that. And it's very important to be able to collaborate, because otherwise it won't work. And for my industry in film as well, it's not like a one man-woman show. It's like a big collaboration. And that's a big part.
How many people work in a documentary? What will be the team, the number of people you need to work with?
Maybe about 15 to 20 people, and that's a small production. Yeah.
So it's a little more complicated than the team you were working with in the classroom.
Yeah, well, in a different way, but now I have the skills, so makes it easier. Yeah.
And Julia, you mentioned a system change. What is that? What is a system?
A system is a living organism, I'd say, where it's not about it is about the parts of a system, but it's more about the relationships between those parts and how they interact, how they influence each other. And when we talk about systems change, we usually refer to the iceberg model from Donella Meadows, where it's about like not thinking that, for example, plastic is the issue, that we throw plastic in the ocean is the symptom of an issue. So you need to go deeper and understand the whole system in order to drive meaningful change.
And you also mentioned that you visualize. What do you visualize? Do you visualize a process, a collaboration?
In my daily work, it's more visualizing the content that we're working with.
Okay.
But I was also very fortunate to be part of a organizational restructuring or like a little bit of a reorientation, where I also brought in like visualizing the organizational structure and how the relationships between the different people in that organization are or could look like.
So you were also looking at the organization as a system.
Yes.
And seeing how that interacts. Yeah. So would you say that is looking at the collaboration at a different scale? So Michelle was saying that it's a collaboration between 20 people perhaps in a team. Now when you look at the organization and you have the different parts and how they collaborate, is that similar? And that's something perhaps for both of you?
For me, I think as soon as you look at an organization, you kind of have to zoom out because, of course, you're also a part of it, but you need to see that bigger picture of the organization to be able to visualize it more neutrally. Otherwise, I would only do it from my perspective. Yeah. So, and I think if it's about visualizing a team, then it's more personal as well. Yeah, or for me.
I feel like it's very important what she says with that, with the zooming out, because that's definitely something that I can share with the people I work with, and like that, like right now, it reminded me to do that as well, because sometimes you're like a bit stuck in in a project and forget to see the bigger picture.
How do you explain to your families when you go home zooming out? What do you do when you zoom out, and why does it help you?
I think it's important to see like who is involved. Like you zoom out and you see who is involved and what is the role of every person, and see the challenges, which is good having challenges. It's just like you learn how to approach them, like in a way that you get a solution, or like a I'm not sure if I want to say solution, but like
yes, solution might not be the response.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
I also like to say that it's more like zooming out, so also not be too personally involved in that, because if I don't zoom, like if I zoom out, it's easier for me to see the organization following its purpose. So in our case, fostering the collaboration. So I can, with the zooming out, I can also leave behind that little spot of my perspective and like just wanting to, I don't know, improve the circumstances for visualization and communication, but rather see it as what is the organizational purpose. Yeah.
And what else? You have very different jobs, very different roles in very different organizations. What else did you learn here that helped you today?
Working for a nonprofit organization is really dealing with the unknown as well. So that's for sure something that I learned a lot in the program. So being very flexible to changing financial situations or changing participants or whatever. So really kind of go with the flow of the organization and still trying to find a way how we could improve.
For me, it's similar. Like if something doesn't work out because it may be uncertain, you get to see a different way of making it work for now. And something, I mean, you mentioned it every class, like what's the root cause of what's behind. I see myself doing that a lot during work, but also a lot of, because I'm in an office, a lot of business courses help me out. I mean, we had international property law, things like that. Now I do read contracts, so that helped me as well, and that's like more of a technical skill that we learned.
Have on the tables here in the exhibition some projects that talk about exploring possibilities. And when you face those challenges, is that what you do, to explore possibilities to move forward?
I would say yes, and involve people from the field, or like people who could be interested or who would be affected. So really engaging people and not just trying to figure out. For example, for us, it's a training program, so not trying to figure out that in our little room, but rather also speak to people, get feedback, get the resonance on what could work.
Speak to people that have the right experience. Yeah. Do you also explore possibilities?
Yeah, I think so, and also like to think long term as well.
Okay.
Like
How do you do that? How you think about today and at the same time long term? And what is long term? Is it 1 year, 5, 10?
It's not really for me. It's not really bound to time. It's more like it's not like the first easy thing will be the right thing to move forward. That's what I want to say. Like there's more behind, and that can bring you maybe a step even like further and create something that's sustainable as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the questions that we were having today from the audience was, what is a design managers create? What is it they design? How, if you look at your daily job, what is that you design?
I mean, you can start if you want to.
I would say, like in my job right now, it's designing visual. I don't want to say visuals, but I also don't want to say visual content. It's just like, communicating whatever we do. So that's what I'm designing right now. But I think what is more relevant is also like designing the relationships between the team. So also fostering a good team environment, fostering exchange, and kind of also being a placeholder for exchange, which also is in my case.
So you are making collaboration processes and situations tangible. And why do you think that is important? What happens when we don't have that visualization?
For me, kind of, or in our case, the team could fall apart as well.
Yeah, and the situation that we are facing, we don't grasp it. Yeah. So that could also be a situation. We usually talk about with the students designing collaborations, designing this aspect of creativity. How do you? Some people understand creativity in a diverse way, like creativity is like working with colors perhaps, or with different shapes. How do you bring creativity to your work and your teams?
I feel like making the team like sit together and and think of different, like not brainstorm, but like that everyone sits together and brings in what they are thinking, and that we together create something. I feel like creativity is very like in the way you think. Also in the way you create visuals, things, but more in the way you think and you bring in ideas and
Julia, something?
I would double underline that. Yeah.
Do you have questions for them? we can open now. Jorge.
Just to hook on into this.
Ah, yes, yeah.
See, that's design manager thinking, right? He doesn't have a microphone. Let's give him one. Thank you. Hooking up on the thing about thinking differently. How do you think differently from your colleagues? And not because you are Michelle or Julia, but because of the thing that you learned at DMI. How is that different?
It's a good question. Like, how is it different? I mean, I have mentioned it already, to think like beyond of like of the root problem. Like, that is for me thinking differently. And I find myself saying that to the team, like, we have this, what can we do? Or why is it this way? Or what will make us, go further? Like, how can we change a little bit the way we think? Because I work in a company that has been here for 95 years, and a lot of processes have been the same for a lot of time. But in my industry, the movie industry is changing. It changed with COVID. People aren't going to the movies anymore. And it's important, like, we can't continue to do the business the same way. We have to see, like, why aren't they going? What can we do? Like, what has been, like, there are so many changes in my case with streaming services. Like, but how can we work together? How can we make an experience and continue, to do what we love, but in a different way? And I feel like because I'm new at this, it's easier to come in and bring in my own ideas and say, hey, I think this, and I'm lucky to have bosses that are like, okay, we trust you and we can, implement change, listen to young people. That's something that is valued in the company I work for. That would be a little bit of my answer. But it's a hard task, like, to make people think different. Like, it's not easy. But they need to be open for that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Julia, you want to answer?
I was thinking about how I make people think differently, especially because in my organization, a lot of people are already kind of thinking also in a systemic way. So it's more difficult. But I think what I then brought in was more also the business view. So bringing again, like, okay, and how can we make this financially also viable and sustainable? And kind of bringing the wild ideas also a bit down to the ground.
Can I also answer? Okay. I can give you an example. So I work in an educational organization, and I can have very different roles in the same organization, right? And we were some weeks ago listening to proposal for a new curriculum. And at certain point when I was listening, I realized we are talking about things and topics, but we are not talking about people's life. And what we are going to be doing, it will affect people's life. So the questions, after I realized that, were different. And hence, we started looking at different aspects of what should take place in that curriculum. We talk about humanizing organizations, and I teach a course talking about transforming and humanizing organizations. And sometimes it's just posing that question, what would that mean for people? And for, if we take a systemic view that I don't think we can avoid taking it, all living organisms, what does it mean if we leave life at the center? So that would be a way where we help people to think differently by saying, okay, wait a minute, we are talking about this, but actually we should be talking about this other thing. Or you can pose a question. what if we look at this from this perspective, like from the financial perspective or the human perspective? So that will be how I would, and I don't think, oh, let me see how I help someone think differently. That's not what you are doing. I think that it comes naturally just to trying to understand what's going on, what's being discussed, and what will be the thing that we should be discussing, perhaps. Do you have more questions for us? Yeah. Hans Kaspar and Catherine.
Thank you. Okay, now that you are working in specific enterprises, I wonder if I bring in the term strategic conversations. And my question is, how are the conversations that you have, or what is the scope of conversations that you have? I can imagine, for example, that there are conversations about fixing something that is not really working, so that could be short-term, because it requires immediate action. I could also imagine that in the next step, one could maybe have a sense of pain, that maybe something soon might change, so we better start having some conversations about, maybe a hunch feeling of something that might come and affect us. And a third, longer perspective might be, could we as a company explore something? Could we explore into the future to understand what might be coming in order to prepare for that? It might be a major change of the company, for example, or a major way of doing things in totally different ways, or it might affect the business. So I wonder if you have strategic conversations, so yes or no, and if yes, how far do they go into the future, and what is kind of the scope of them? Is that actually happening, or what is happening and what might not be happening?
Thank you. Good question.
I can go first. So in our case, actually both is happening. So really the envisioning a future was part of the whole organizational discussion of where does the organization want to go to. On the other hand, it is an envisioning which should be applied right now, because there is this kind of stress of, okay, financial resources that are still here until XYZ. So it's kind of a mix. Because they, in this organization, they really envision a better future, or a more sustainable future. They also do that for the organization, but then actually how it should happen should be right now, which is more difficult for them. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we do have strategic conversations as well, and something that you will love to hear, we write down learnings from our projects and see how we can apply them better in the next projects that are similar. But it's what we use. We use the word learnings. Like,
there you go.
Like here.
The learning organization.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So there is a reflection space within the organization.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's...
But I feel like in our case, and I have issued this before, we need to take more time to reflect. Yeah. But it's hard if you are in an industry that is like very fast-paced.
I think that in every industry and in every organization, reflecting is difficult, but I think that is essential. Now, you were mentioning before, going back to the question of Hans Kaspar, you were mentioning before how the film industry is changing. And so how do you help your organization to see, okay, what happened with streaming, or what happened with people no longer going to the cinema? So those are a part of a strategic conversation too. How do you help with those strategic conversations? Do you help them envisioning? Do you help them by posing questions? Do you help them by reflecting?
I help them by posing questions and by bringing in. I mean, I'm in the industry, but I feel like I'm outside of the industry as well, because I observe my friends and my family and their behavior towards film, and I feel like I'm good at bringing that in from the outside to that bubble, because that's the people that go to the movies or watch TV or see the advertisements like that, because sometimes we feel like, oh, we know everything because we're in that bubble, but I feel like because I'm fairly new, I bring that in, and I live with roommates, so I hear what they are interested in, and
If you need to do some interviews, we have lots of students that can help. Katarina?
So I would be interested in, because it's now you are not so far away from the program, but you already have the experience in the organizations. What would you suggest the students that are studying now or want to start to study the program? What do you have any suggestions? For them.
To come in with an open mind would be my answer, because sometimes it will, at the end, it will all tie in together. Sometimes we don't see it from the beginning, like why are we learning this or why are we doing this, but it will make sense,
It will come up together.
Yes.
Trust the process.
Like a puzzle.
Yeah.
I would also say being really open to learn a lot of new things, and to embrace kind of this journey of learning, and also to wait, I lost it. Okay, I lost my thread, but I had something else. Yeah.
To be curious as well, open to learn, like you said.
Sometimes it's easier to say, be curious, but at times can be really difficult. That curiosity requires an opening, and that opening sometimes is not easy. So we try to facilitate it, but it might not take place. And I think that it happens a lot in organizations too. For me, it's interesting to start observing all the no's that we have in organizations.
Now I found it.
That was the intention of my comment.
I would also say to wanting to become someone who fosters change processes in organizations or for cities or whatever. So one would need to have that drive, kind of. Yeah.
And try to be comfortable in not knowing. That's not easy, but because I feel like that's life, you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have to be comfortable in the unknown, and we will figure it out, and we'll
trust the process.
Yes.
And your skills.
And your skills, yeah.
But you have the skills to face what you need to face.
And if you don't, you'll learn it. That's why you're here.
Yeah.
No one is going to judge you. You were here to learn. Yeah.
Julia, you were going to say something else. No? So imagine yourself 3 years ago. What would you have told Julia and Michelle? You were saying trust the process, be curious, be open, but
be ready for your perspective to be changed.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. Yeah, be ready also like to not know things, because the more you learn, the more you know that you don't know as well. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
Do we have more questions? Is there Jorge?
Thank you. Not so much a question, more a comment. So sitting here listening to you as one of your tormentors of the past, I feel really proud because we have here two people that have become agents of change. And that's what we try to do in this program. So thank you very much for sharing that with us. All the best for the future, and thank you for giving me the satisfaction of knowing that what I'm trying to do here is actually happening.
It's becoming real.
Thank you for saying that. Very nice. But it's really like I really enjoyed my studies. I really enjoyed being here. I learned a lot, and I feel like I'm still like realizing, oh, I learned that here, and I know the things I know because of the way we were challenged to think and rethink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be challenging.
It is.
But I think it's a challenge in a caring way.
And also the people, because it's an international program, and that's so valuable as well. Yeah. That really is.
Is there anything else you would like to add?
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing. Thank you. Pleasure.